Good morning, everybody. We got kind of a different view today. I decided to quit using my phone. I think I'm running out of space on it. So I set up my computer and I think it's going to work out pretty good. Um, you can get a little different view, see all my pictures in the background, family and stuff. Um, and that's what we're talking about today. I want to talk about loved ones dying. I've had some really interesting experiences, hopeful experiences, and I wanted to talk about them today, um, and about several people that were really close to me. So so the kids will know and understand, just how the Lord comforted me and how all that happened. And I'm going to read some Bible verses. I've got a few here. Let's start off with the and on with the glasses again. We're starting out with Psalm 116:15. And actually, the Lord gave me this psalm and this verse when my Uncle Gary died. And I kind of talked about that, and I know I showed his picture yesterday, um, that I had painted. And anyway, the verse is precious in the sight of Adonai is the death of his Kedoshim. And Kedoshim, that just means servant. I'm reading out of the Tree of Life version, and it it's was done by Jewish people so that they left a lot of the Jewish words in it, I guess. So it's a little bit different, but I like it. Um, anyway, the first one I want to talk about is my grandma Effie. Um, I would always go visit her. Well, first I want to say this about my grandmas were so funny. Oh, they were so funny. Um, they both would dye their hair red. Grandma Effie, her hair was probably about the same color as mine naturally, but she would dye it Lucy red, and she swore up and down she was a redhead. And my other grandma, my grandma Pressum, she did have auburn hair, and she would dye it to keep it up. I think, oh man, I think she was doing it clear up to her 80s, dyeing her hair. And I quit a long time ago. I just don't want to mess with it, and it wrecks my hair and stuff. But anyway, I would take my kids to visit her, and they have stories about Grandma Effie too. She was so funny, the stuff she would do. Um, and I believe them because she used to do some crazy stuff when we were kids too. I remember one time she came to babysit for us, and all that my mom had in the house, I guess, to eat was cream of mushroom soup because that's what she fed us. And I'm like, kids don't want to eat cream of mushroom soup, just plain. But she was funny, and she would do funny things with my kids. But anyway, one and she had about of cancer where I think it was like cervical cancer or something, and she had it removed, and she got better. And I was still going to see her and stuff. She lived in Pine River, and one day I went up to see her, and she started to tell me about this wonderful dream she had because her husband had died like several years before, and his favorite song, it was a Christian song, so he was a Christian. But anyway, so she was telling me about this dream, and in this dream she said there was this fog, and she was going through the fog, and her husband met her and took her through the fog, and she was just so happy, and just so happy. And I remember instantly instantly feeling like she was gonna die. That dream meant she was gonna die, but I didn't tell her that. I didn't want to tell her that. Um, and she did die. She died 6 weeks later. And what happened was her her cancer had spread into her colon, and she was all blocked up from the cancer. And anyway, she didn't want to do chemotherapy or anything like that anymore. And so we all just kind of kept track of where she was, and she ended up in the hospital on her deathbed, and we knew she was dying. And so everybody would go up to visit, and when she died, she's the only person I've been around who died. when she died, we were all gathered around her bed and we were singing hymns to her. And she was a Christian. My aunts and stuff talked to her, and she felt like the Lord would never forgive her for all the bad things she'd done in her life, but he did. And it was it was really hard to see her die, but in a way it was sweet too that we were all gathered around singing. And um so that was my one of my first experiences with not the first, but one of the first when I was an adult. um the other person, the second one was my grandma Bressam. And in this one, and I think I did mention this in my testimony too, I had a dream that she fell and never got back up again. And it wasn't too much later, and she did fall and hurt her hip, something, and she ended up going in the nursing home, and she never did come out. She ended up with lung cancer, and she ended up dying. She died of a heart attack, thank God. So it so she didn't have to cancer, but she she was a Christian too, because I know we had talked about the Lord, and I witnessed to her, and she had been to events where, in fact, well, okay, well, it looks like this is going to be more than a two-parter too. I don't know if I can change this so it'll take longer videos or what, but the 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 third one was my dad. Um, I was living out in Idaho, and he had always had trouble with melanoma, skin cancer, because he worked outside. He was outside all the time, and he loved hunting, fishing, all that. And anyway, it spread, and he went in the hospital, and mom and my family called me to let me know what was going on. And I didn't know what to do because I had just gone down to Lewiston to start opening a store, um, with Winco, which I worked for. And we were just in the middle of opening it. But I well, actually, that was when he died. But at the time, it was before I actually went down there. And I got to go back and I got to see him. Um, and I got to talk to him about the Lord. He was in the hospital, and I got to pray with him and all of this, but he was scared. He was afraid of dying. He did pray with me, and I'm really thankful I got to talk to him. And so I came back home, and I didn't get to go to the funeral after he died because of the store opening thing I was talking about. But I started to pray for him because I just felt like he was so scared of dying, and I didn't want him to be afraid, and I knew that he had accepted the Lord. And I just prayed that the Lord would give him a vision of heaven or something. I knew the Lord could do that. And then one day my sister told me that Dad had had a dream. I don't even know if she remembers this, but she said Dad had a dream about heaven, and he was talking about how beautiful it was. And that that just gave me so much peace. The Lord answered my prayer, and I'm so thankful he did. And then Dad died, and I didn't get to go back, but they sent me pictures and stuff like that. Um, my mom died just recently, and I know my mom was a Christian. She read her Bible and stuff, and I didn't get any real big revelation or anything with her, but I did get to stuff was going on out here, and I decided just to drive back, and I knew it was going to be the last time I saw my mom, probably the last time I ever got back home. And I got to see her, and then it wasn't much later, and she died. Um, the last one, well, I guess I want to talk about my Uncle Gary too. Um, his was mostly just, that Bible verse that the Lord gave me about precious in the sight, um, is the death in the sight of the Lord, and the death of his saints. But when he died, I was really busy with working, and I didn't get to go be with him as much as I wanted to be. But my husband at the time told me that he had felt like he had seen him dancing after he died, and I thought that was really cool, really cool. That kind of brings me to Zach, and it's probably going to go into a third. I don't know how to get these. Maybe I can edit these together. I don't know. Um, but Zach, and I'm probably gonna do another whole one with Zach because about addiction and all of that, because that was a lot. But he had trouble with drug addiction and stuff, and it broke my heart. It really did. I just wanted him to be happy because he was such a sweet kid, so good, and he really did help me and stuff before he died. But and I kept praying, and I prayed, and I prayed for him. And anyway, I'm going to read you a couple of things that the Lord gave me for Zach specifically. Um, and one is in Psalms again. So I'll read that to you. And the Lord kept giving me these verses over and over and over again for him. Though my father and my mother forsake me, Adonai will take me in. Teach me your way, Adonai, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, breathing out violence. Surely I trust, and I will see the goodness of Adonai in the land of the living. Wait for Adonai. Be strong. Let your heart take courage and wait for Adonai. And actually, the last verse I'm going to wait till the end, I think. I can't even remember what it is, but we'll read it at the end. Um, Let me see. Yep, at the end. So the day I was, I felt like I was the last person who had to give up on Zach. And the day that he died, or the couple of days before, I got upset with him because I had just broke both my hands. I was on medication. I didn't know what to do, and I was at my wit's end. And we'll talk more later. But I got mad at him, and I chewed him out. And anyway, then I felt really bad. But the day he died, I didn't even see him. I just yelled out the door, "Goodbye, Zach." You know, it was right before Memorial Day. It was Memorial Day weekend, and anyway, we were, just hanging out that day, and pretty soon one of our neighbors comes in. He says, "I think Zach's been in an accident. His car just got pulled down the thing. It's tore in half." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" So we ran to the hospital immediately, and I knew on the way to the hospital, I knew this time was different, and I just knew he was gone. I knew it before I got there, and when we got there, they took us in this little room. Wasn't a hospital room, but they took us in there, and they came in and told us that he had died. And they asked if we wanted to see the body, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I didn't want to remember him that way. And thank goodness the coroner knew Zach, and so I didn't have to do that. But um, I was devastated because of the arguing. So, but the Lord brought me back to that verse again. He brought me back. And what really comforted me, it said, "Though my father and my Adonai will take me in." And I felt like the Lord had seen Zach's pain, and he just reached down and he said, "This is enough for you. I'm bringing you home." And that's how I felt. And that comforted me. That really comforted me. But I'm going to read the last. It's 1 Corinthians 15:55. Death is swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? Now the sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the Torah. But thanks be to God who keeps giving us the victory through our Lord Yeshua the Messiah. Therefore, my dearly beloved brethren, be steadfast and immovable, always excelling in the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. And Zach was a Christian. He talked about the Lord. He told other people about the Lord, and he never got everything perfectly right in the end. He was off drugs, but he still struggled with other things. But even to this day, I'm still growing and learning. I had to repent of some stuff this morning, and so it's a process, and I believe he's with the Lord. I do. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. I love you all. Bye.